Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are focusing on a really monumental regulatory shift that's about to sweep across Brampton, Ontario.
It's a big one.
We're talking about the city's Residential Rental Licensing Program, or RRL, and its massive mandatory expansion.
And this is more than just a policy update. I mean, it's a total redrawing of the map for anyone who owns or manages a rental property in the city.
Right.
The city's core goal here is pretty crystal clear. They want to mandate that landlords provide safe, compliant, and, well-maintained rental housing that meets official standards.
And the sheer scale of it is what makes this so critical, right?
Yeah.
This RRL program, which started as, a limited pilot?
Just a small pilot, yeah.
Now it's going citywide. We have two major takeaways right out of the gate that you need to know. First, the expansion is mandatory for all applicable units, and that starts January 1st, 2026.
And second, this is the really interesting part, the city has made a pretty stunning move by waiving all application fees for the license.
That combination tells a story, doesn't it?
It really does. Waiving the fee removes that financial barrier, but making it mandatory citywide and coupling that with the rising fines we'll get into later, it just shows the city is absolutely serious.
Serious about compliance and probably data collection, too.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's unpack this. What is the immediate practical impact for property owners now that this program is officially scaling up?
The essential timeline is January 1st, 2026. That is the date. That's the effective date for the citywide expansion. From that point forward, if you own a specific type of property, you have to be licensed.
And what defines the scope of this? Who exactly is now required to get this license?
The requirement is very targeted. It covers a huge portion of the city's rental stock, but it's specific. All rental properties with 1 to 4 dwelling units.
1 to 4. So this is aimed squarely at the smaller scale landlord, not the massive apartment complexes.
Precisely. That distinction is key.
So give us a few examples of what falls into that category.
Sure. So we're talking about single dwelling units, a standard house rented out completely. But also, and this is far more common, 2-unit dwellings.
Which is a main house plus one other unit.
Right. A principal residence plus 1 additional residential unit, an ARU. Think of a legal basement apartment.
Right.
But crucially, it also captures multi-unit dwellings.
Meaning triplexes, fourplexes.
Exactly. Or even a standard home that has more than 1 ARU. If you've got a house with 2 separate basement units, for example, you're in.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting and I think potentially challenging for thousands of landlords. The mandatory sequencing with those ARUs, it's a gatekeeper requirement.
It is the absolute non-negotiable prerequisite. We cannot stress this enough.
So what is it?
If your property has an ARU, and that's any self-contained rental unit with its own kitchen, bathroom, sleeping area, that unit must be registered and approved by the city before you can even apply for the RRL license.
So if I'm a landlord with a basement apartment I've been renting for years, I have to first go through the whole ARU registration process, prove it meets code, get that official sign-off, and only then can I even start the RRL application.
That is precisely the challenge. And that ARU process can involve building inspections, proof of code compliance. It's not always a quick turnaround.
That sounds like a potential bottleneck.
It is. The RRL is essentially forcing a huge number of, let's say, unregistered units to finally get their house in order with the building code before they can get the rental license.
That context is vital. Okay, what about the people who are already licensed, the folks from the pilot program? What's their deadline for renewal?
For existing holders, the timeline is tight. Renewals will reopen right after the expansion hits, so after December 31st, 2025.
And they have to be done by?
They must complete that renewal by January 31st, 2026. It's a very tight 1-month window. The city says they'll send an email, but you need to be ready.
That 1-month window really emphasizes that current license holders can't just relax. They need to get their ducks in a row now.
Preparation is absolutely key. They need all their paperwork ready to go for that January submission.
Let's pivot to the licensing process for everyone else. We know it's free, but what does a landlord actually have to do to prove they're compliant?
So the process is really designed to put the responsibility on the landlord. Step 1, as we said, mandatory ARU registration if you have one.
Okay.
Step 2 is proactive. The landlord has to make sure their units meet all the safety.
So the city isn't coming out to inspect first. It's a self-declaration model.
Exactly. It's self-declaration, but it's backed by the threat of future inspections and big penalties. Step 3, you need to have the right insurance.
And then you apply online.
Right. And here's the kicker. When you submit that application, you are giving the city explicit consent to verify your property's compliance at any point.
And that, right there, that's the key to their whole strategy. They're giving up the fee revenue to get mandatory access and verification rights. They want the data.
Precisely. They are formalizing the entire rental market.
And on top of the free licensing, there's a small, tangible bonus for acting fast, right?
There is. It's a nice little incentive focused on safety. If you apply by December 31st, 2025, so before it becomes mandatory, you get a free battery-operated smoke alarm.
It's a small thing, but it really underscores what's driving this fire safety.
It's priority number one.
So once the application is approved, what happens?
The license gets emailed to you, and you have a mandatory requirement to print it and post it in a clearly visible location inside the rental unit.
For the tenant to see.
Yes, it's all about transparency, and you have to remember this is an annual thing. You have to renew it every year.
All right, let's transition to the day-to-day operation. The property has to be well-maintained. What does that actually mean under this program? What are the specific rules?
This is the checklist, really.
Yeah.
These are the things that will get you a complaint or fail you an inspection. First, occupancy. Rooms used for sleeping have to have proper building permit approvals.
So no converting a windowless den into a bedroom.
Absolutely not. And of course, safety alarms. Working smoke and carbon monoxide alarms fully compliant with the Ontario Fire Code. That's a constant responsibility for the landlord.
Okay, let's talk about the neighborhood stuff because this is often where the friction is. The parking rules seem exceptionally specific.
They are. The city is clearly focused on this. Landlords have to provide legal, approved parking spaces only. And the big one, the rule that's going to change behavior overnight, is that no parking is allowed on grass, roadways, walkways, or any unapproved area.
That one rule alone is going to cause a lot of headaches. It shows this is about more than just safety inside the unit. It's about neighborhood standards. No more cars on the lawn.
That's right. And that extends to general maintenance. The landlord is now explicitly responsible for lawn care, snow removal from paths, and proper garbage storage.
So it's all codified now.
It is a legal condition of your license.
And what about information? What does the landlord have to give the tenant?
It's about transparency again. They have to provide a whole package. Fire safety instructions, emergency contact info, those specific parking rules, and clear waste guidelines. It's all about setting clear expectations.
When you connect all these dots, it really is about standardizing the rental experience across the city.
Absolutely. The city is professionalizing the small-scale rental market.
And with professionalization comes consequences for not complying. Operating without a license is illegal. We need to look at the penalties because they're going up.
They are, and the timing is no accident. The financial penalties are increasing on January 1st, 2026. Right as the expansion kicks in, it's the hammer.
So walk us through those increases. What's the cost of failing to register that ARU?
For failing to register an ARU, the fine jumps from $750 to a flat $1,000.
And for just failing to get the main license?
For that, failing to obtain or comply with the RRL license, it goes up from $600 to $750.
And I understand those are just the starting points. They escalate quickly.
They do. If you get a fine for either of those and you don't fix the problem, the fine for both offenses immediately escalates to $1,500.
So there's very little patience for ongoing non-compliance.
Zero tolerance.
But wait, didn't the city approve some kind of educational module for landlords? Is there any kind of grace period or help?
That's a great point. Yes, they did. They recognized this is a big change, so there's a one-time educational module to help landlords understand the new rules.
But that doesn't replace the fines.
Not at all. It's an attempt to educate, but the penalties for violations, especially continued ones, are still very severe.
Beyond those specific fines, what's the worst-case financial scenario here?
The most dangerous territory is anything related to illegal construction or breaches under the Building Code Act. Things that endanger safety.
And the fines for those can be?
They can skyrocket up to $500,000. $500,000, that's the maximum. And it shows you that safety and legal construction are the foundation of this entire system.
And the biggest penalty might not even be financial.
You're absolutely right. Non-compliance can stop you from getting or renewing a license. And you can't get that RRL license, your property cannot legally be rented out.
Which means your rental income stops.
Cold.
An immediate halt. That's often a much bigger deterrent than the fine itself.
So let's sum this up. What does this all mean for you if you're a landlord or even a tenant in Brampton?
It means mandatory licensing for all 1 to 4 unit rentals. starting January 1st, 2026. The application is free, but the requirement for compliance, from registering your ARU to shoveling the snow, is non-negotiable.
And the fines for failing are going up significantly, with the ultimate penalty being that you can't legally rent your property at all.
That's the bottom line.
And just for that final bit of context, City Council extended this program until December 31st, 2028. This isn't a trial run.
No, this is the new permanent reality for the small rental market in Brampton. They've committed for the long haul.
Which raises a really important final question for you to think about. It does. Given this 3-year commitment, the mandatory licensing, the big jump in fines, the question isn't just about quality anymore, it's about economics.
You mean who pays for all this?
Exactly. Will this program ultimately drive up rental costs as landlords have to absorb these new compliance expenses? Or will it push smaller, maybe non-compliant landlords out of the market entirely and actually affect the overall supply of rental housing in Brampton?
Think about that economic balancing act over the next few years as these mandatory standards really take root. It's a profound shift in the landlord-tenant landscape.
It truly is.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive. We hope you feel well-informed and ready to tackle these new regulations. We'll catch you next time.